All right, Shalom. I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth. Shalom to the hopeful elect. I'm back with another quick lesson through the Holy Spirit, the Rakakwadash. And I wanted to build upon this response by the beloved Elder Malcolm out of GMS Chicago. He had did a response to my video that I did a few days ago, going into doxing and bounties placed on federal agents, more trouble for Jacob. And he had made reference to a statement that was made by this small hat Edomite woman named Judith Varnai Shorer. All right, and she made a statement on the panel saying that the so-called black youth in America was a major threat to the tiny hats in Israel. Okay, so one would ask the question, why would this woman say something like that? All right, because this truth has reached the ends of the earth. Okay, the awakening of Israel has reached the four corners of the world. Right? This is the book of 2nd Ezra chapter 6, verse 27. It says, "For evil shall be put out, and deceit shall be quenched. As for faith, it shall flourish. Corruption shall be overcome, and the truth, which have been so long without fruit, shall be declared." And that's what's going on right now.
There were people from Israel, they came over here and trained Santiago Mesa, but later on, digging more in the information, one of the leaders of the cartel was sent to Israel to be trained of how to decompose the bodies and also how to make the drainage system. Can you explain that?
Yeah, in 1985, Elepra, he go to Israel in training to dissolve bodies in acid, and then.
I remember that woman. Remember this Adelson chick, all the money that they just gave, and then that woman who was a former. She was something to do with the Israel security. I forget her name. So while the Israelis were actually committing the atrocities on the Gazans, all right, on the people of Palestine, she came on television and said the problem in America were the problem in Israel was way across seas in America were young blacks. Why? Because of the awakening of the tribes. They know as well as we know, the whole world knows at this point, these people are frauds. They are not who they claim to be. All right? But what they are is this powerful controlling entity, which is Esau Edom, just as the Bible describes. Remember, the Lord returns to a world controlled by Edom. And the Edomites here in America have handlers. All right. And their handlers are the little hats. 144% truth spoken right there.
Yep. And that's why I had to go find the videos. All right. Which we're going to play. But just like the elder said, the whole world knows at this point. All right. And these devils are guilty. This is the book of Deuteronomy 33, verse 29. It says, "Happy art thou, O Israel, who was like unto thee, O people saved by the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, the shield of thy help, and who is the sword of thy excellency. And thy enemies shall be found liars unto thee, and thou shalt tread upon their high places." So our enemies are being found as liars. Okay, the whole world is talking about who the true biblical Israelites are and who are the frauds, right? This is why this woman, as we're going to play the video, this is why she made that statement on the panel. Isaiah 63, verse 17, "O Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, why hast thou made us to err from thy ways and harden our heart from thy fear? Return for thy servant's sake the tribes of thy inheritance. The people of thy holiness have possessed it but a little while. Our adversaries have trodden down thy sanctuary." The point, we are thine, thou neverst bearest rule over them. They were not called by thy name, all right? So these small hats, these tiny hats, okay, these Edomites are not the sons of the Most High, man, okay? We belong unto Yahweh Shem Yahushua, the true biblical Israelites, you so-called Negro, Latino, Native Americans, and Hispanics, all right? That information is out there, Okay, so again, the whole world knows this information, and there's nothing they can do. Esau couldn't stop the awakening of the Israelites, even if he wanted to, even as he tried to. All right, it was still prophesied that, you know, those dry bones will wake up in the last days. You know.
Of the Israeli government holding a private convention here in the United States. One of the people in attendance at this secret meeting was Judith Varney Shorer. She's a former Israeli consul general who was operating out of Atlanta. She was one of the main people saying that the biggest problem that they had was young black people in the United States. But don't worry, they've got some black leaders on the payroll.
The major problem of Israel is with the young generation of the black community. The problem of Israel is with the young generation of the black community. Black is with the young generation of the black community.
This was an Israeli government official who was saying this, not some low-level operative or some rogue member of their diplomatic corps. This was a senior member of their administrative government who was saying this on American soil. Their biggest problem wasn't Hamas or Hezbollah or the Palestinian Authority or Syria or even Iran. She said that Israel's biggest problem was young black people in the United States.
The major problem of Israel is with the young generation of the black community.
Yeah, and this is a major problem. That's why, you know, I was just thinking about, again, what the elder has said. Let me pull this up. All right. Isaiah 13. Hey, this is the burden of Babylon. All right. Isaiah 13:1, it says, the burden of Babylon, which Isaiah the son of Amos did see. The point, lift ye up a banner upon the high mountain. The high mountain is America, man. The banner is the truth. All right, this word. Lift ye up a banner upon the high mountain. Exalt the voice unto them. Shake the hand that it may go into the gates of the nobles, right? So this word has gone up to the gates of the nobles, the elites of the world, man. Okay, and we understand that the people who have the control of the world and its resources are the tiny hats. Okay, so now we're at the point in prophecy where they have to acknowledge this word, man. And here it is. This woman said that the so-called black youth in America was a problem, and here it is. We're all the so-called black youth is all the way over here in America. How is that a threat to those over there in the land of Israel, man? You know, so this shows you how much damage this word is doing over the airwaves, over the internet, man. Okay, Jake is waking up.
You know, I wonder why Israel's biggest problem is the young generation of the black community when we're all the way over here. We don't have no land. We don't have no communities. We don't have no commodities. We don't have any resources. We don't have any bombs. We don't have any nuclear weapons. We don't have any missiles. You know, we don't have any military. You know, why would we be the biggest threat? Wouldn't the biggest threat be the people you're actually in war with? What do we have to do with anything y'all got going on? Could it be that the conspiracies about identity theft are true? Perhaps. Because I doubt that, you know, a lie would be a big threat to an entire country. I don't think a lie would. But what I think is the biggest threat is that the truth is being revealed and the world knows that. Time's up.
Boom. All right. These devils are shook, right? This is Revelation 11 and verse 11. It says, after 3 days and a half, all right, at 350 years, right? After 3 days and a half, the spirit of life from the Most High entered into them. Who's the them? The Israelites. Okay? We were in a dry bone state. We were in the graves at one point. All right? And after that 350 years, going back to 1619 to the early 1960s, all right, you had you had the understanding of the Israelites go forth in the earth. All right, Malachi the 4th chapter talks about how Elijah will come back in the last days to restore the hearts of the children back to the fathers. All right, going back to Elder High Priest Abba Bivens, man. All right, and One West. All right, the where the knowledge of Israel really began to flourish back in the the early 1960s. All right, the spirit of life came back into the earth, came back into the Lord's people. It says, and entered into them, they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them. And see, and what this Edomite woman was saying on the panel, this ties into that great fear that fell upon our enemies. All right, these Edomites and these nations. All right, the eventual, raising up of the Israelites, the true Israelites in these last days. All right, so this woman, she didn't say that. She didn't make that statement for no reason. This was powerful. All right, showing you that again that the whole world has awakened to this truth. This word is out there, man. All right, let me get this too. I was thinking about that one in Wisdom of Solomon. All right, as well. Again, just adding to the prophecies that are taking place. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2, and verse 13. And it reads, it says, he professeth to have the knowledge of the Most High. He calleth himself the child of the Lord. All right, linking that up with Isaiah 44. One shall surname himself by the name of Jacob, the other by the name of Israel. Roughly paraphrasing, it says, verse 14, he was made to reprove our thoughts. All right, the Lord said in Psalms 50 and verse 21 that he would set them in order and before thine eyes. All right, the Lord raised up the prophets, the true prophets, and they're judging, the Mount of Esau. All right, they're declaring his judgment, his downfall. Right? It says he was made to reprove our thoughts. He is grievous unto us even to behold. For his life is not like other men's. His ways are of another fashion. All right, because we're the true people. All right, and the sight of us, as I always make mention of, the sight of us out there on the highways and hedges, these videos going up by the thousands week to week. All right, is a grievous sight, for these Edomites, man. Okay. They're losing sleep. Okay, they're being pricked in the side, so to speak, man. This is a grievous sight to see us standing back upon our feet, man. Okay, prophesying, declaring the end of this kingdom. All right, breaking down the scriptures, making things plain. Right? It says, verse 16, we are esteemed of him as counterfeits. All right, and that's the and that's the understanding that's going out, that these people, again, they don't fit the script. All right, these are not the descendants of Jacob, of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. All right, these are not the people of the covenant. We are esteemed of him as counterfeits. He abstaineth from our ways as from filthiness. He pronounces the end of the just to be blessed. See, and he maketh his boast that Yahweh Shem Yahushai is his father. You see? And that's part of the awakening again that's taking place that couldn't be stopped. Right? Now, as the elder had made that response, and I was just thinking about what was written, and I want to pull this up too. What was written in the infamous Willie Lynch letter, all right? Because it made a point about the brutes who are the Israelites, all right, you so-called Negro, Latino, Native Americans, and Hispanics. The brutes would eventually come back to the remembrance of who they are, all right? And this is what I thought about. This is why, again, I'm just adding on to what this small hat Edomite woman said about the so-called, black youth in America being a major threat to the tiny hats in Israel. Now, because it's all prophecy at the end of the day. Let me go to the letter here. I got it in the PDF, right? So this is the Willie Lynch, the infamous Willie Lynch letter. All right, the making of a slave. All right, and this is just in the PDF. I want to go to the point here, right? because these so-called slave masters, they knew eventually what would happen, right? And we always, reference this point. But right here under this header, it says warning possible of interloping negatives, right? So the point that I have highlighted here, right? It says our experts warned us about the possibility. Our experts warned us about the possibility of this phenomenon occurring. For they say that the mind has a strong drive to correct and recorrect itself over a period of time. If it can touch some substantial original historical base, and they advised us that the best way to deal with the phenomenon is to shave off the brute's mental history and create a multiplicity of phenomena of illusions, so that each illusion will twirl in its own orbit, something similar to floating balls in a vacuum. All right. So they had to keep our people, distracted with everything outside of the truth. All right. They couldn't allow us to come back to who we are, because as he said, they said that the experts warned the slave masters about how, the slave mind has a strong drive to correct and recorrect itself over a period of time. Eventually they would snap out of that. They will wake up. It says if it can't touch some substantial original historical base, right? Now I had the the chat thing basically explain it, right? And I want to add scriptures to it, right? So right here, so this is what he was saying in this warning, right, to these slave masters. So here on the left, I know it's kind of small, but we'll read it here. It says, the key concepts in the selected text revolve around the idea of controlling a person's thoughts and a historical understanding to maintain dominance. The text suggests that people naturally try to fix or align their understanding of themselves over time. And the way to prevent this natural process is to remove their true historical foundation and replace it with confusing false information, right? And this is why these devils gave you these idols in these false religions, okay, to keep you from your true heritage, your true nationality, right? Jeremiah 17:4, and thou even thyself shall discontinue from thy heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thy enemies in the land which thou knowest not, for you have kindled a fire in my anger, which shall burn forever, right? So this is part of the curses, that we will be discontinued, okay, from our true nationality and heritage, all right? We would be called by another name. Okay, we went into slavery, captivity under our enemies. This happened, right? It says, here are the key concepts explained simply with examples, right? So what it said the mind's drive to correct itself. The text states the mind has a strong drive to correct and recorrect itself over a period of time if it can touch some substantial original historical base. Simple meaning, a person's mind naturally seeks truth, consistency, and a real understanding of their past. If they have a solid, true history to look back on, their identity and perspective will eventually fix, quote unquote, themselves and resist false ideas. Whoo, man. Let me get that in Isaiah 10. That's prophecy, right? This is Isaiah 10 and 20. And it shall come to pass in that day that the remnant of Israel and such as are escaped of the house of Jacob shall no more again stay upon him that smote them, but shall stay upon the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushua, the Holy One of Israel, in truth. All right? That's what's going on. This is why these devils are shook. Okay? Because the lies are wearing off. Okay? Jake is no longer leaning upon this devil for understanding. All right? They're leaning upon the Holy One of Israel in truth. Okay, prophecy is going out. The true understanding of the Bible is going out, man. Okay, our people are waking up. That's the threat. That's the problem, right? Verse 21, Isaiah 10 and 21, the remnant shall return, even the remnant of Jacob unto the mighty power. See? And Esau, he can't stop that. Right? So back in the read, it says, example, imagine a person who was told their whole family were terrible singers if they later discover old family videos showing their relatives performing in a professional choir, substantial original historical base. Their mind will correct the initial false belief. They'll start to think, wait, that can't be true. We have a history of talent. That's heavy. Right? And you know, Jake is waking up, you know, through that through that new song. Right? Matter of fact, that's heavy too. Let me get that. I was thinking about that. It's the spirit. Was it Psalm 40? Right? This is Psalm 40 and in verse 3. It says, and he had put a new song in my mouth, even praise unto our power. Many shall see it and fear and shall trust in the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushua. The standard is going up. The new song is being heard by the elect. Many shall see it and fear and shall trust in the Lord. This is what's happening. Verse 4, blessed is the man that maketh the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushua his trust, and respecteth not the proud, nor such as turn aside to lies. So again, that remnant, that the elect are turning away from those lies. Okay, those idols and false doctrines, and coming back to the truth. Right? Here's some more. Number 2, shave off the brute's mental history. This phrase describes the action taken to stop the mind's natural correction. Simple meaning, intentionally removing or destroying a group's knowledge of their true origins, culture, achievements, and past identity is like erasing the hard drive of the collective memory. Example, a conqueror might seize all the history books, ban the teaching of the native language, and destroy traditional artifacts, which Esau did. This removes the original historical base, making it harder for future generations to correct, quote unquote, their minds because they have no true foundations to refer to. See? Man. You know, the lengths that these devils went to, all right, to keep us separated from our power. All right? It says, number 3, multiplicity of phenomena of illusions. This refers to what replaces the real history. Simple meaning, creating many different false stories, contradictory ideas, or confusing social situations to take the place of the missing true history. Example, instead of knowing the true unifying history, a group might be taught multiple conflicting stories about their origins, be told that their traditional customs are shameful, and it says or be encouraged to fight amongst themselves over minor differences. Yeah, and this is part of what we go through as a people now. All right, the fact that we're clinging on to our true heritage again of who we truly are, and we're being shamed for it. Okay, we're being scoffed and mocked against. You see, and that's actually happening. Number 4, twirl in his own orbit, floating balls in a vacuum. This describes the intended end result of the system of control. Simple meaning, the confusion, false ideas, quote unquote, illusions will keep people mentally occupied, isolated, and disorganized, like balls floating randomly in an empty space, a vacuum. The individuals or small groups won't be able to connect and unify around a single truth. Example, if people believe multiple competing and false narratives about who they are or who their enemy is, they spend their energy arguing with each other or chasing unhelpful ideas. And this is the state that Esau wants to keep us in. Right? It says this confusion prevents them from developing a shared, solid, and power perspective that could change their dominant power structure. The lack of shared truth keeps them separated and manageable. See that? This is why, again, this is the top threat of Jake coming back. You know? That's why we're in the time of Amos, the 9th chapter of the house of David. The Lord, what did he say? He was gonna close the breaches. right? That's a major problem, you know? And through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shemel Shai, you know, the elect out of the northern and southern kingdom are unifying. It's all spiritual. All right, this is Amos 9:11. It says, "In that day will I raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof, and I will raise up his ruins, and I will build it as in the days of old." And this is happening in the spirit. The Lord has raised up that third tabernacle, that spiritual temple. Okay? Ezekiel 37, those dry bones receiving the breath of life and standing upon their feet and becoming a great exceeding army, as the scriptures say, man. So these methods here, all right, this is what they did. And they always knew, again, of who we are. This is why this was said to the slave masters, to keep us from coming back to who we are, right? This is Job 8:8. It says, "For inquire, I pray thee, of the former age, and prepare thyself to the search of their fathers." Right. So this is part of our walk of you know, coming back to the ancient way, coming back to our nationality, our heritage, calling on the true name of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. All right. The Lord said he was going to stir up our pure minds by the way of remembrance. See? Jeremiah 6 and 16, it says, "Thus saith the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, stand ye in the ways and see, and ask for the old paths. Where is the good way, and walk therein, and you shall find rest for your souls." See that? But they said, we will not walk therein. 2/3 of our people said they're not going to walk in the way of the Lord. Right? The Lord said, you shall find rest for your souls. And see, through these different doctrines, these false doctrines and idols, all right, our people don't have rest because these different doctrines are not giving our people the truth. See, this is why these things were pushed on our people. Okay, Christianity, that plantation Christianity, white Jesus, okay, Egyptology, Pan-Africanism, black culture, okay, Catholicism, Islam, you know, Rastafarianism, all of that, man, to keep our people disconnected from our true power. Right? This is Jeremiah 18 and 15, "Because my people have forgotten me." See, this was all the methods that these devils used for us to forget the Lord, to strip us away from our true heritage. You see, it says Jeremiah 18:15, "Because my people have forgotten me, they have burned incense to vanity, and they have caused them to stumble in their ways from the ancient paths, to walk in paths in a way not cast up." Right. So since we fell away, all right, we're walking, our people, the majority of our people are walking in the wrong direction. They're walking in the wrong path because they know not the way of the truth. Right. But this all ties into that. So that's what I was thinking about when that Edomite tiny hat woman had made that statement. What's her name again? Judith Varney Shore. This is why she said that. Okay, because now these brutes, the slaves are finally waking up. Right? And there's nothing they can do about it. Right? One more. You know, just thinking out loud. Baruch, the second chapter. All right, Baruch 2 and Baruch 2 and verse 29, and it reads, Baruch 2 and 29, it says, "If you will not hear my voice, surely this very great multitude shall be turned into a small number among the nations, where I will scatter them. For I knew that they would not hear me, because it is a stiff-necked people. But in the land of their captivities they shall remember themselves." And this is what's happening now. Right? This is the problem. This is the threat. "And shall know that I am the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushua, their power. For I will give them a heart and ears to hear." All right? Going back to the Lord giving us the breath. And they shall praise me in the land of their captivity, and think upon my name, and return from their stiff neck and from their wicked deeds. For they shall remember the way of their fathers, which sinned before the Lord. And I will bring them again into the land which I promised with an oath unto their fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and they shall be lords of it. And I will increase them, and they shall not be diminished. And I will make an everlasting covenant with them to be their power, and they shall be my people. And I will no more drive my people of Israel out of the land that I have given them. See that? So the Lord is going to physically put the Israelites back in the Holy Land. All right, which cuts that Balfour Declaration madness. All right. But yeah, that's the point, man. That's what I was thinking about, as far as that response the elder has said, all right, about the so-called black youth in America being a threat to the tiny hats and the brutes, the slaves waking back up, So yeah, I pray that this lesson was edifying, and shalom to the next one. Shalom.